I am talking about mommy tummies. Have you heard of diastasis recti? I'm going to explain what diastasis recti is. If you don't know what diastasis recti is, it's ab separation. I'm going to go into more detail about what ab separation is, because for a lot of us as moms, we have it and don't know about it. I didn't know about it, but 1 out of 3 of us moms have it and need to actually strengthen it, fix it, for us to get our strong core back. Traditional ab exercises don't work. I found this out the hard way. After my second pregnancy, I have had 4. So if you don't know what diastasis recti is, put IDK in the comments, and I will explain what diastasis recti is. 100% of moms actually get diastasis recti. It's a very normal process that happens with the body that I'm going to explain in a second, but it's very normal because that's what allows our stomachs to expand beyond what they were before. Because I mean, I'm actually wearing this suit right now to show what goes on with the muscles during pregnancy, so that you can understand like what's going on with your body and how we fix it. So if you don't know what diastasis recti is, put IDK in the comments, and I'm going to explain it in a lot more detail. But for the time being, let's see, kick down the gate. I get a lot of attention on like Titan, AOT kind of fans. I am not doing AOT or Titan, any kind of cosplaying. I am talking to moms who, okay, I see IDK. I am talking to moms about mommy pouches and how to fix it, okay? I'm due baby number 5 in 8 days by induction. Oh, I was induced. Awesome. You're gonna be just fine. I'm sure you can't wait to have that baby in your arms. I have had 4 babies, and with more babies that you have, the more likely that you'll have diastasis recti. So let me explain what diastasis recti is. I am moving, so like all my stuff is like everywhere. I mean, my kids' shorts are here. I have my other suits. I have like my organ suits, clothes. What is this even? This is my baby's fake phone so that he tries not to get my phone. All right. So I'm going to explain to you. I'm looking for my diastasis and I can't find it. Anyway, so with diastasis recti, I'm going to use this to pretend like that's what it is. What happens when you get pregnant? Our body looks like this. This is the inside, obviously. And what happens is that when the stomach muscles don't go back. Yes, I'm going to explain that, Chrissy 6686. So what happens with the stomach before you have a baby, this is what it looks like. So this is your rectus abdominis. These muscles are right next to each other, usually, and they're joined here at the middle with a section of fascia or connective tissue. This is called the linea alba. Okay, that's where all the abdominal muscles of the wall, they connect here at the center. They don't just go straight across. They connect here at this point. You see this white line here? That is connective tissue or fascia. So what happens is when the baby gets in there and starts growing and growing and starts stretching your stomach out, this midline here stretches as well. So instead of this thin line of fascia or connective tissue, it thickens up. Okay, I don't know where my diastasis recti went. Usually I have like a little cutout diastasis recti, but I can't find my diastasis recti. You know what? I'm just going to make up one right now. So I'm going to take a piece of paper because my stuff is like everywhere. I'm in the process of moving. We just sold our house and I'm moving to Texas. Anybody live in Texas? No, just... It's hot there. My husband and I met in Texas. Okay, so that's not what you're here for. I'm just gonna I'm making a little diastasis so that you can kind of get an idea of what it looks like. All right, so it starts out looking like this. Your muscles here, the rectus abdominis is connected here at the center. And this thin line of fascia or connective tissue is what it looks like before the baby. Now, after the baby fills up our stomach, this little line stretches out and it can look wider. It can look like this. So it goes from this thin line to something wider like this. Now, everybody can look different. Like if you know how when we're pregnant, people are like, oh, you're carrying high, it's a girl. You're carrying low, it's a boy. That's not how that works. How it works is wherever your stomach stretches, oh, Houston, Texas here. Hey, I'm coming. I'm going to be like in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I actually went to Baylor grad, for those who are in Texas. You know what Baylor is. But, yeah, so for those, okay, that's what I was saying. For those who carry babies low, it's because your fascia or your connective tissue down here stretched out at the bottom versus up here at the top. So some people have more of a diastasis or an opening. Oh, look at that. Hello from Scotland. Oh, that's so cool. Man, it's so cool how social media can like bring us all together. It's so cool. All right. So Arlington, my sister went to UT Arlington. Okay, awesome. All right, I'm going to get all sidetracked. I'm sorry, but that's so awesome. It's just so cool that we can connect on here. All right. So with the diastasis recti, it can be from the top all the way to the bottom, the fascia that's here connecting the abs together. It can be all the way from the top to the bottom. Mine is more at the bottom. So like I get stretching at the umbilical region all the way down to the bottom. So I have like, let me relax my abs. I'm a year postpartum from baby number 4. So you can see like I'm still working on my core with my 8-week challenge in my links. And you can see it's really flat here, and then I have more of a bulge here. That's because the fascia of my lower abs stretched out, and I have more of a diastasis at the bottom, more of a stretching. Diastasis literally means separation. Recti refers to the rectus abdominis, your six-pack muscle. So when you hear the word diastasis recti, it literally means the separation of your rectus abdominis, okay? But what I want you to... like a herd of elephants running around. Okay, but what I want you, hi, North Carolina, I'm driving through there in a couple of weeks. And Wyoming, oh, how awesome. That is so cool. Can it rip at just the middle? Okay, just so you know, when that question is, can it rip? With diastasis recti, it's not a rip, okay? It's actually just a stretching of this fascia at the midline. So it's like you're pulling apart a piece of bubble gum. It's like a wad of bubble gum and you're pulling it and it's stretching out. Not accepting any invitations to go live together. Okay, so there's no actual tear. If you have a tear there, that's actually a hernia. And that's very common. A lot of ladies in my 8-week core challenge that I work with, having a hernia is not really uncommon. So in my Facebook group, you can go in there on my links. I have a closed Facebook group that's free. Anybody can join. I have a pelvic floor physical therapist in there. She can answer questions about hernias and different things like that because she can speak to it. She had diastasis recti from her first pregnancy, and she also had 2 hernias that had to be repaired. Not everyone's hernias have to be repaired, but just so you know, diastasis recti is not tearing. It's just stretching of the linea alba, the fascia here, where the abdominal muscles connect at the midline. Hopefully that makes sense, okay? So with diastasis recti, I have some moms that have more of stretching of the diastasis up top. So their fascia up here is more gapped, and they may have more of a bulge up top, and it's flatter down here at the bottom, okay? I have a lot of mamas who they have stretching just around the umbilical region, which is very typical. And so they have more of a pouching here right at the center, okay? And oftentimes as we're healing, we find that the very center is where it's kind of like heals last, okay? Another thing I want you to understand is with diastasis recti, it's not just about stretching at the midline. Because a lot of times we focus on, okay, I want to bring the gap back together. The idea is the fascia here is stretched out and it's showing a gap. So like, let me show you this again. So your rectus abdominis is not close together anymore. It's farther apart. It's kind of coming around like so, okay? And so what we're trying to do is strengthen this fascia here, which sometimes brings it back together, but sometimes it stays a little bit apart, which doesn't matter. You can still have a flat stomach even if it's a little bit farther apart. Your core can still be stronger, okay? Because what we're trying to do is strengthen that tissue. Because when it was closer together, that tissue was really strong. See, what I want you to do right now is follow your breastbone down. Right, the end of here is your xiphoid process. Right below that, I want you to just kind of give yourself a little jab. You see how it's nice and tight like a trampoline? And then you get down, 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 and it gets a little gushy. You know what I mean? What our goal is to get the fascia down here nice and tight like the fascia up here. You see how the white part is there? You can see it on my suit. That's fascia there. So our goal is to get it tight all the way up and down. So even like people will ask me, why is it that I have a gap of only 2 fingers wide? If you don't know if you have diastasis recti or you want to test, I have a self-test in the links in my bio. So what I'm talking about is when we self-test, we often measure the width of our diastasis in fingers. I've had mamas that come into my program with literally a fist wide. So their diastasis is it's really, really open, okay? All right, so the idea is to get that fascia nice and tight again. All right, but not only is the fascia here stretched out, but I want you to just visualize that all of the muscles of your core are also wrapped in fascia. So we don't have to really just focus on the gap itself. We want to focus on fixing, strengthening, healing the fascia of the entire core. So it's not, like I said, all of your muscles are wrapped in fascia. So we want to get all the fascia nice and strong and just kind of shrink our container, so to speak. What's a good way of, I explain all this stuff in a lot of depth in my course, but just know, like, it's like, let's pretend this suit was my fascia, okay? When I have breakfast and get bloated or whatever, if this suit is really big, and I stuff it with stuff, it's going to fill up and look bigger at the end of the day. Do you feel like when you get bloated, before we had babies, we got bloated, we had a little pudge. But now that we've had babies and our container, our fascia is a little stretched out, when we get bloated, we look like 5 months pregnant, right? It's because our container is a little bit more stretched out than it used to be, but we can actually strengthen that container. Does that make sense? So like with my program and programs that actually work for healing diastasis recti, we work on strengthening the deep core muscles. People ask, okay, we're here, we want to know how you fix it. Okay, how do you fix it? We first work on strengthening the deep core muscles. The rectus abdominis, they're cute, they're sexy, they look great, ab lines, whatever, but those aren't going to shrink your waistline per se. Okay, we have deeper muscles, namely the transverse abdominis. That's your deepmost core muscle that wraps around your waist like a corset and literally cinches in your waistline. Now, that's real cute and all, but it also is highly functional. It helps keep us stable, upright. It helps keep the contents of our stomach in. So it also helps us support our back, because I don't know about you, but a lot of my mom is in my course, and I experienced this on a really deep level because I pinched a nerve. When we have diastasis recti and a weaker core, we get a lot of looseness in our back, and we're more likely to pinch a nerve, throw out our back, have back pain, just chronically. So that is definitely a very functional, practical reason for wanting to have a stronger core. Yes, we want to have a flatter core, but for me, the moment of truth came when I pinched a nerve and I couldn't stand up and hold myself up, let alone my baby, my second baby. I couldn't hold him because I had pinched a nerve and I had such debilitating pain. I was literally crawling around on the floor, and I was like, something has to change. My physical therapist was like, you have a weak core, you have diastasis recti, this needs to be fixed. So a lot of us as mamas, it's not just like a cosmetic thing, it's a very functional thing, and we have to fix this or we're going to continue to have problems, especially as we get, older. I mean, as women, we have a lot of times our higher incidence of lower back pain, and it might be because a lot of us, 1 out of 3 of us to be exact, are going to have weaker cores that doesn't heal on its own. And traditional ab exercises aren't going to fix it, because we're not talking about crunches that really work more for the rectus abdominis. We're looking at doing exercises that specifically target the transverse abdominis and your pelvic floor. Your pelvic floor is intimately connected to your transverse abdominis and your deep core. That's why a lot of us as mamas, 1 out of 5 of us to be exact, have leaking when we laugh, cough, sneeze, jump, all that. It's all connected, okay? So I know I just talk like a million miles a minute, but hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to start looking at your questions, okay? If you have any questions that I don't get to answer here, just know that I do check my DMs. As long as you're not asking me about like Titans or where babies come from, I'm going to answer your questions. If you DM me. I also have Instagram. I have a closed Facebook group. If you go in my links, I have a closed Facebook group. It's not just myself that's in there. I'm Mommy Mango, by the way. You can find me on different like platforms, YouTube or whatever. Instagram, I'm Mommy Mango Ray, R-A-E. Anyway, you can ask me questions on any of those platforms. And in my closed Facebook group, we have a pelvic floor physical therapist, which, by the way, that is the most ideal thing to do. Like, if you can get a hold of working with a pelvic floor physical therapist, for whether you have pelvic floor issues, diastasis recti, that would be ideal. If you can't, I have an 8-week core challenge. It's on sale right now because Memorial Day, but ideally you want to work with a pelvic floor physical therapist, okay? And I have one in my closed Facebook group. If you want to just join, you can join. It's absolutely free. You can ask questions in there. You can get support from other ladies. You can get testimonials from other ladies. You can ask whatever you want in there. We talk about lots of things, and the pelvic floor physical therapist in my group, she does lives in there as well. Usually, she's actually working on a pelvic floor course for our for our school, our online school. So she's been pretty busy, but she usually does lives in there. But if not, you can just tag her, or you can tag me, and I'll make sure she sees the post and she answers questions. She's an awesome resource because she's a mama herself, and she's had diastasis recti and hernias, pelvic floor issues. Both of us have had those issues. So she's just an awesome resource, and I love her. Okay, let me start answering some questions, and then we'll see where we go from there. All right. Hey, could you pray surgery tomorrow for hysterectomy? Yes. Awesome. I'll be with you. Do vacuums actually make your waist smaller? Yes, vacuums are very helpful. Samantha King, LOL. Vacuums are very helpful. And what she's saying when she's talking about vacuums, she's talking about where you literally, as you exhale, you're drawing your belly button in towards your spine. That's one way of kind of like conceptualizing it. One thing that I do in my program that I think is just a little bit better is instead of my belly button's actually not here, it's actually up here. Instead of just focusing on bringing your belly button to your spine, I have my ladies picture that their belly button is down low. So it's down here at your lower abs, and I want you to relax the rest of your abs and try to bring this point below your belly button straight back as you exhale, and you're doing a Kegel at the same time. Okay, I know I break it all down in my program, but just so that you kind of get an idea of like a first exercise that you can try to do is try to see if you can target your transverse abdominis. Can you do that? That's your deepmost core muscle that literally wraps around your waist like a corset. Okay, it's like a waist trainer. By the way, there are a lot of reasons why I don't recommend waist trainers. My pelvic floor physical therapist, doctor in my Facebook group, closed Facebook group that I was talking about, she doesn't recommend them, and for very serious reasons. If you want to go in there and check that out, I have a bunch of times that we've answered that questions online or whatever. But either way, work your natural waist trainer. Your natural waist trainer is your transverse abdominis. It's a deepmost core muscle below all these muscles that are superficial here in your abs, and that set of muscles draws your waistline in, okay? The muscle fibers literally run horizontally. You see these muscle fibers of the rectus abdominis? Everyone wants to work them and look sexy, have six-pack, right? Okay, these run up and down. You see those muscle fibers going up and down? All right, because that helps to contract this way so you can flex. But your transverse abdominis runs around this way. And as you contract the transverse abdominis, it shrinks you in this way. Okay, so here's a little exercise you can try. I want you to pretend like your belly button is down low here, all right? And I want you to inhale and relax everything. Your pelvic floor, everything. Now, as you exhale, I want you to pretend as though you're picking up a blueberry with your vagina. I know this sounds weird. I'm not trying to be like weird. TikTok, I'm not trying to do anything weird, okay? This is like real stuff. Real mamas have real problems with leaking, and we need to fix it, right? Okay, so as you exhale, I want you to pretend as though you're picking up a blueberry with your vagina, and you are drawing in your fake belly button from down here straight back, okay? You're not gripping your abs here. It's a very common like ab gripping. We're so used to like sucking in our stomach so that we can look flat when somebody walks by. We're just like, you know, we want to pretend as though you have a belly button down low, and then I want you to draw, you know, do a Kegel as you exhale, and then draw this straight back as you exhale. And what you'll find is you'll feel tightening down here and get that lower transverse abdominis. And once you learn how to do that, like just doing that exercise takes work and practice. It's like we do that the first week of my program because you have to reconnect with your deep core. A lot of us are disconnected from our deep core because we had a baby in there and it was huge and it grew and just took over and put its foot up in our rib and pushed our diaphragm up, pushed our bladder down, did all kinds of funny things in there. And when we breathed in, we couldn't breathe down like we used to, which should naturally relax our pelvic floor. You know, there are just natural things that normally go on, and we kind of, a lot of things are altered. And I explained this in a lot of detail in the 8-week core challenge, so I'm struggling for words to make it like super short, but I go into a lot of detail on the whole, like what happens to our body during pregnancy and how to like bring it back and reconnect our deep core. Our deep core is made of our diaphragm, our pelvic floor, and our transverse abdominis that goes around and cinches in our waistline. And we work on just a week of breathing and connecting and feeling like, what does my transverse abdominis feel like? What does it feel like to activate activate that muscle.